Hello and welcome to We Women Want. This is our weekly show where we discuss issues related to women. We celebrate the achievers, we find support, we become a support system for those who need us. We discuss issues from relationships, from women's health to fashion to domestic abuse, everything. But today we are going to be focusing on relationships and the changing nature of relationships and how it affects women in general. I'm talking about live-ins, I'm talking about same-sex relationships, I'm talking about divorce, marriages or relationships where you are committed to each other but not living with each other. In fact, that is also now catching on these days. So, various kinds of relationships that people are exploring nowadays. Joining me on the show is Alkanshi Drahar. She is the managing partner at the Law Offices India. I have Leher Kala. She is a columnist at the Indian Express who writes on trends, lifestyles and relationships. And Shalini Singh, she is the founder of andwemet.com, a dating service that provides long-term relationships, not marriages. In fact, that helps in assisting, not provides, sorry, helps in assisting long-term relationships. So, welcome to this conversation, all of you. Alka, I'll begin with you because the law is, let's first know where we all stand legally. In terms of, we know where we stand, marriages and divorce. But live-in ke baare mein now people are becoming more open to live-in relationships.
So, see, we all think that live-in relationship is a very so-called modern phenomenon, but it's not. As back as 1978, in Badri Prasad's case, the Supreme Court had recognized the live-in, basically saying that if two persons were staying together for a long period of time, that would tantamount to being in a relationship and like a marriage.
Okay.
And recently now also under the Domestic Violence Act it's been defined under Section 2F, it's been defined that a person can, domestic violence is when you can go to the court and, from abuse against physical, mental, etc. So in that also now live-in relationships have been accepted, saying that in a marriage-like relationship. So that means now live-ins have been given a legitimate and a legal status. There's no doubt about that. But having said that, there are a lot of judgments by the Supreme Court and also recently in Allahabad High Court, in which they have said that live-ins, there's no bar against them. It's not illegal, but it may be immoral. So that just kind of goes on to show that, a lot of work needs to be done on that, but we are like we said, the Constitution is a living document. It's a living thing. So it interprets Constitution and the acts according to the new times. And the new times are now the live-ins have become, it's relatively common now, and especially in few cities.
So, there are cases where the Constitution is more progressive than society. If it's immoral, it's legal, but it's immoral. So, it's, even though we're seeing more and more couples opting for live-ins, I think.
Yeah. I think, this entire generation of young people growing up in cities like Bombay, Delhi, Madras, Jaipur, a lot of them are products of bad marriages. So they have they because of social media, they're able to acknowledge that they are products. There's so much pop psychology coming at us via Instagram and Facebook. And so people are self-evaluating a lot more. So because they recognize that they may be products of bad marriages, there's a hesitation to sort of jump into a marriage. And that's where I think, I have a son who's 20. I would insist that he have a live-in relationship, try it out, see whether it works, suss it out before you get into something permanent. Because I think the emotional fallout of getting divorced and all is also very, very, it's tough, And if there's an option to sort of try and avoid that and get to know yourself better through a live-in, why not? Now, as far as immorality goes, that's a judgment, and that has no meaning.
But even in the courts, you have seen a lot of couples, and especially of the same sex, they are having to go to the court to get the protection because their relatives and the parents are all wanting them not to be in such a relationship.
Yeah. So same sex, of course, is a whole
that's a new field altogether.
So what's the reason for parents not wanting to be in a live-in? Because they're going to get physically, intimacy is going to be there. That's the whole thing, right?
Is that still an issue now, Shalini?
Yeah, because no. So why aren't you agreeing on live-in, right? So because now publicly your child is telling the world that I am in a relationship, I'm not married. Now, when you're in a live-in, I think it's a committed relationship, just like marriage, but without a legal contract or a legal document, right? And as Leher said, why are you living together? Because you're trying to see if you're compatible socially, mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. You're just seeing if it can work out, and then you may decide to get married, or you may like to, go apart without any legal contract. And it's not only young people, if I would say, I think people who have never been married before, they are trying this out. They're opting for live-in, followed maybe by marriage. And there are primary folks who have been married before. They are not opting for a remarriage, and they are opting for a live-in.
In fact, older people, I think it's easier to have live-ins. Also in society, they're not bothered about what
I'm not
immoral,
very sure. No,
moral.
I would not agree.
They're not bothered about society, at least. that part.
Especially if
And
you've already
parents.
been married.
And
if
you've
you've already
already
been
married,
married, then you have no reason to remarry if you've already had children.
Yeah, but
right?
I will not say
So
that.
this children issue, sorry, finish your thing. I want
No, I won't say that they're not bothered by the society, because in our country, let's accept it, relationships happen or marriages happen between families and not the individuals, right? So even if you're in a live-in, you'd want your partner to be accepted by your family as you'd want to be accepted by your partner's family.
At what age does this not matter? This acceptance from society and,
I think it's an individual thing.
Correct.
It's
I
an
agree with
individual
her.
thing. I don't think there could be a certain age. But going further to what you both were saying, it's an interesting thing. Now, why are more and more people, young people, opting for live-ins and not marriage? There has to be a certain reason for it, right? I mean, if you go back to if you see the historical background, around 50, 60 years back, women had to be married because they were not financially independent. If the husband left them and went away, the children, and they would literally be on the street. So you needed that.
Because the woman was considered to be just an homemaker.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
But now, because women are being empowered, they are financially more independent. So they are not willing. I mean, they want the man to adjust as much as they are. Equality. So that is why you see, as a lawyer, I see so much. The divorce rates are going through the roof. Why? Because the women are now becoming more and more independent. Whether that's good, bad, I mean, that's a debate for yet another day. but that is the why more and more marriages are failing. So there's a reason for it.
In fact, the main reason that marriages are failing is because women are no longer willing to tolerate patriarchal nonsense, So like, if any of you watch Rocky and Rani's Prem Kahani,
Yes.
she had a very good line in that. And she says, why should, when we marry, I move to your house and live with your parents and you not adjust to my parents? So then they do a swap, Now, if a woman is earning well, she doesn't want to come back home and, be subservient to a mother-in-law or a father-in-law. She wants her own space. And because she has the wealth now to be able to afford that, she's not willing to tolerate a husband or his family the same way she would have been able to 50 years ago, because there's no need.
Now she has a choice.
Now she has a choice. So then in fact, the main reason marriages are splitting is because women have more money.
Exactly.
So I'd agree
Financial
with what Leher
independence.
is saying, is that family interference is one of the reasons where, marriages are not working out. But then we're talking again, coming back to live-in, we're talking about it to be a committed relationship as a marriage, but not with a contract. So a family interference can happen there as well. So I think coming out legally would be easier. But I would always, I always tell people, try and see, if you can work it out versus just break up. Because a breakup, irrespective of a year, 10 years,
painful.
is emotionally
It's
draining.
emotional. But
And
what are
that
the
is
time?
why, and maybe more and more people are opting for live-in, is because the repercussions of a marriage legally are much more to deal with than in a live-in. Though under the live-in too, I mean, both the partners have the same status, and children born out of a live-in relationship gets the same rights for maintenance, etc.
Oh, is that so? That's interesting. Because
Yeah,
a lot
yeah,
of people want to
absolutely.
get married because the child A should have a legitimate name and B the rights.
See, live-in relationship is still a live-in relationship, though it's been recognized by the courts. We have it under the DV Act, but it's still a live-in, which is relatively a new phenomena. So we have the courts assisting us with it. But a marriage, it's for sure. I mean, it's there, it's concrete, it's set in stone. It's literally set in stone. So getting out of a marriage is of course, legally, I'm just talking about the legally, is much more difficult in terms of the property, etc., etc. So that is why.
And
could be another reason
So
why
would
more
you
and more
say,
people are opting for live-ins.
that the one reason, or some would say only reason to get married is because of the children?
I think that the only reason one should marry is when you're ready to have children, and that's what this generation understands that we didn't. We just walked into marriages without any thought. You know, we were younger or we were stupid or whatever.
or you were told that you have
to get married.
So
I can't imagine a situation that my son would be 30 and I'd say, "Beta, ab tum shadi kar lo." You know, that stuff is no longer happening. And this generation, they've already had a lot of partners, so and they're fine with that, by and large, at least the ones who are living in cities. And they're going to post, and they, you know, as it is, they don't own cars, they don't own houses, they live. It's a much easier. So the living thing comes also with the environment around us. They don't have the same level of liabilities we guys did, which made us think of marriage as far more important than they do. You know, and God knows how many of them will be even having kids. You know, if they do, it'll be one. It'll be much later in life. So in a way, they're a lot luckier because they're a lot freer socially, I feel. I mean, I know that it's still hard for 90% of Indians. I'm talking about the very small subsection of Indians who live in cities and who've had the benefits of, you know, education and wealth. But there's no difference in the way the New Yorkers are living and the way Delhiites and Bombayites are living. So, and their mind space is exactly the same as far as, this is what I can see. Also, don't forget that now because of Instagram and Facebook, you suddenly have access to so many more people. So it becomes so much harder to commit and stay committed. You know, this doesn't get talked about enough.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So the thing is, that's another reason that, you know, you can reconnect with your high school sweetheart. You can meet this one. There are so many more avenues to meet thousands and thousands of people of the opposite
without
sex.
actually also exposing yourself in terms of, you know, going on a date.
So
or
then
whatever.
that again is makes
One of the
marriage
factors.
irrelevant, you know, and a live-in. See, let's face it. The fact is that a live-in is easier to get out of.
Much
And
easier legally.
Yeah, it gives you the option to move around much more.
Yes.
So
Right.
that's a factor.
But what live-in, so we're talking about the law and it's there. I think if corporate India also understands it, because if I'm in a marriage and I'm employed somewhere, I as a wedded partner get the privilege of healthcare and, you know, other benefits. But if I am in a committed relationship, which is a live-in, unfortunately, my organization will not even see me as someone, they'll still see me as someone single. They will not see me as
They
someone
want
in
the
a
paper on that. But what I want to ask you is, you know, you also have this service. So what are the options that people are looking for? You know, because you're saying that, you know, marriage is not even something you're offering. You're offering long-term relationships.
No, so what we offer on AnviMet is we give our users the choice to see if they want marriage, domestic partnership, or live-in, or companionship.
Explain the last.
So companionship is where we are in an exclusive relationship, but we prefer to live in our own homes because relationships becoming a very personal choice, right? And there could be reasons why we want to live in two separate homes. It could be that I want my space. It could be that I'm a single parent. It could be that this is just my preference, that, you know, but we will, in the society and between each other, we are committed. So that is there. The only thing what I say is that if you are looking for a live-in, you should find a partner who thinks like you. Because if the person you are meeting wants to get married and you want to live in, it's not going to work out.
But does this take away, Alka, the spontaneity of, you know, the meeting? Because you already say, okay, you know, we are heading towards just the live-in or just the marriage or the...
I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so. I mean, I mean, to each his own. And it's an individual thing. Some people like arranged marriages, and I have seen arranged marriages being so amazingly successful.
What are the stats?
I have seen love marriages. They were going around for 11 years. Within 6 months of they were going around for 11 years. Within 6 months of getting married, they divorced. And I mean, that's a personal friend. And I said, like, what didn't you find in those 11 years that you found in 6 months?
Because they started living in together.
Because they started living in, exactly.
So this is a better option then.
But yeah, with new times, new things emerge, and you have to move in with new times, new mentality.
No, and what
most
I'd say is
importantly.
that if family starts accepting their loved ones in such a relationship, right, they should really get, they should feel proud of introducing their person's partner in the family and social circles, that my child or my person is in a committed relationship and here meet the partner, right? I think that
I
should
find
happen.
this word partner very corporate. I guess
Boyfriend.
That's too
No, but you're not a boyfriend, girlfriend anymore. You're a life
Yeah.
partner.
Yeah, so
Right? And also, like in a marriage, if a marriage is going down south, friends and families come together to try and make it work for the couple. I think even in a live-in, like if, challenges do happen.
Right.
So if it is going down south, I think the families shouldn't say, देखा हमने बोला था तुमने शादी नहीं करी, right? तुम live in में, you believe in live in. I think they shouldn't have that attitude. They should say that make it work. So if that happens, I think
they already assume it's immoral, and
I think end of the day it needs to be a healthy, happy relationship
in whichever form. On that note, I'm going to take a break and come back and take a look at this topic, but after a very quick break. Hello and welcome back to We Women Want. Today we are taking a look at relationships, not just marriage, but outside the ambit of marriage, leading to marriage, the various kinds. We haven't spoken about, there is a lot of, people are either they are bi or they're exploring same-sex relationships. Right. I know what the law says on marriages, but on relationships now we are more open and accepting legally.
I don't
know morally.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I mean, I know 3 18 or 19-year-olds who came out last year. And, their parents were okay with it, and they go out with their, their partners. Romantic interest to clubs and stuff. And I think it's fantastic how this has just suddenly changed in the last 5 years. Even 5 years ago, this was unheard of. But I don't know how equipped we are to deal with, I don't know whether India is ever ready yet for gay marriage. I think it's a very complex issue still, and trans rights. I don't know enough about it to comment from a legal perspective. But the fact that it's accepted in society so openly now, at least I'm finding it is, I think it's a huge step forward.
But homosexuality has been, historically also, if you see, it's been there for ages. But it's just now that, it's coming out. And of course, the famous case of Navjot, that's what 377 section. So that was a nightmare, and that has been decriminalized. So that one thing is out. But now it's not before the Supreme Court. So same marriage, of the same sex, that's still under consideration.
What is the hurdle against it, the same legal hurdle?
See, under the Constitution, if you talk about typically, technically and legally, under the Constitution, we of course have Article 14, which says everybody is equal and they're entitled to equal protection of laws. Then you also have, what I'm saying is that it is recognized and enshrined in our Constitution. And then we have Article 19, which says freedom of speech and expression. I should be able to, and under the Constitution, to express myself in any way I want to. And then you have Article 21, life and liberty, personal liberty. I should be entitled to live the life the way I want to be, but not by what you are dictating to me. So life and liberty, the most important. So keeping that in mind, the courts are now interpreting, of course, homosexuality, lesbians. They are people. It's not he and she. It's a person we are talking about. And the person is entitled under the Constitution to live any way they want to, subject, of course, to the caveats that I shouldn't be, breaching your peace or whatever, and violating your rights. Subject to that, what I do in my room is none of anybody's business. So that is what the courts are saying, but it's very interesting. Let's see what they say about the marriage, because you see with the marriage, because it's so legal and a lot of rights then come to it. So that is still under the consideration before the court, the Supreme Court. So let's see what they say about it.
And then next step would be adoption.
I have no doubt that same-sex marriage will be legalized. Question is when. It will come, it will happen, but when is the question?
Okay, that's a good note.
I have one thing to add to that. I would just say that whether it's a same-sex marriage or a heterosexual relationship, people have problems in their relationships and they tend to split over long periods of time. So I don't think, in fact, I often feel that that gay people had a right to find a different way to do this, and they needn't have headed towards marriage. They could have found a totally new way to live, but they've gone
to the old
normal
concepts,
traditional,
constructs.
conventional route.
But they are doing that. But they are staying
No,
together.
they want marriage. They want legal status.
because
Acceptability,
it makes them-
acknowledge
Yeah,
that's
it's something that-
but then they're gonna come full circle to the place where heterosexual
yeah.
people have reached.
Okay, good
Which
point.
Which is where
That's a
they've
very
discovered
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
totally
that's a
disillusioned
good
by
point.
marriage,
Ah.
by and large. If you look at the statistics all over the world, marriage is a dying institution.
Correct.
You know, in China, people no longer want to have kids and they no longer want to be married.
Japan.
See, but
all
when
of these
marriage-
places.
see,
So-
but
So these guys have to do the full circle still,
Nee, but
and they
what
could
you're-
have done it differently.
Could have
they
taken a
could have.
shortcut and
Something
gone-
else.
Yeah.
But Leah, they couldn't have. You know why? Because
Why?
with marriage comes a lot of legal rights, which if they don't get married, they don't. Like insurance, life insurance.
What
this,
she said,
that.
huh?
Like what
Yeah, what
Yeah.
she said. So because of that, they want to go in, and also because of a sentimental value. But keeping that aside, you get certain legal rights which you don't get if you're not technically married on paper.
Yeah.
So that is something. So they'll have to change a whole lot of other ancillary acts and laws and regulations. For example, now assault of the same sex on his partner. Yeah, for like under Indian Penal Code, rape is under 365, right? But that is rape is by a man over
a
here,
woman.
yeah, to a woman. But what if there's sexual assault by a man on his partner who's a man, or by a woman who's a partner? So there are so many gray areas that need to be addressed, but we're walking towards it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of pockets over there, which, of course, if something does happen, the remedy is to go to the court. And
Yeah, the court has to show the way, I guess.
Show the way.
But Shalini, you must be coming through various, lack of a better word, formulas for relationship or relationships that are happening. So if there is one, of course, as you said, you live apart, but you're mutually exclusive, or live-ins, and any other such combinations.
No, I think right now there are no combinations per se. As she mentioned also, I think relationships are very personal. You cannot box them. And all these years, for decades, we've been boxing them, right? Like she said, okay, so, what you were supposed to do, you finish your school, then you get into a good college, you finish college, you start working, and then you get married. This was set. And then after a year or two of marriage, you have children.
Correct.
Okay? That is being broken. And that's what's happening right now. So the parents cannot understand. I'm just talking about parents of so-called marriageable age. There was also so-called marriageable age. What is marriageable age?
But that was timed with your biological clock, at least for women.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. But I'm just saying is that, but there
Now
are so
there are
much
options.
Exactly. So and also talking about. I'm talking about things which we don't talk about. One is abuse. Fine, that's one part. But incompatibility is much more than that. Besides parents' interference, there is financial incompatibility. What if you and I, we have now gotten together, we are married, but financially we are not compatible? What if there is sexual incompatibility? What happens? Then what happens is, then you go get divorced and you say, you don't understand if somebody is asexual or something. You just say that person's gay. Because, or you say that person's a lesbian because, they couldn't perform or whatever. So there's so much, it is so intertwined,
Layers, yeah.
right? And I think we just need to just relax and have people enjoy what they want.
But Leah said something interesting, which she said, now there are also Instagram, Facebook. So social media is now becoming the new meeting ground.
Yeah.
Do people, I don't know, as a person, would it be, wiser to just meet people, not wiser, but is the trend more to via first social media, get to know the person, then go meet the person physically?
I think what I find is that at least amongst the young people I know, they have several relationships going on simultaneously.
Options.
Multitasking. So they're unable to.
I'd like to address.
They're unable to commit to one person because
Very
the
well
options
said.
are so many.
Very well said.
Those options didn't exist for us, or maybe we'd be doing the same.
Yeah.
So now you have that magic instrument in your hand through which the whole world is accessible to you. So it becomes so much harder to commit to something.
Yeah.
I mean, look at us. We keep scrolling only. That's also a waste of time.
Yeah.
But this also is like, it's like a surfeit of options available at the click of a button.
So that's like we're having multiple conversations at the same time. You're talking, but I'm checking my social media posts.
Yeah.
So,
So I think, in fact, these are like, as I read somewhere, these are infidelity machines.
wow.
The phone.
And we give them the hands of the very
and
impressionable.
when they're in the hands of an entire population, and you scratch
Nice
the
one.
surface, behind anybody young today, and they will tell you that they are in 3-4 relationships simultaneously.
Could it also be that maybe the relationship that the old school things of, the one relationship for a lifetime, saath
that
janmon
no
ka
longer
saath,
exists.
maybe that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe, it's not right or wrong.
No,
it just
it's
doesn't
just not
exist.
there.
It's not
Yeah.
there anymore.
Yeah.
So a relationship is not meant to be, perhaps, now
Yeah.
for a lifetime.
Or even one is not.
I'd like
at a
to-
time
Times
is
have just
out of
simply
fashion.
changed.
One at a time also.
One at a
I'd
time
like-
is also out of fashion.
I'd like to address two things. One is social media, and the other is dating more than one person, right? So social media is absolutely, a ground for meeting newer people. But what you don't know is who's an imposter and who's not.
Correct.
Right? Be it any social media handle, right? So even if I ask, so if there's a professional social media space and somebody asks me out for coffee, they do not know if, and I would say, why are you asking me out for coffee, right? Because this space is for this, right? If on other social media, it could be a casual relationship, you do not know. So I think that's what services like ours help. Second is, you said about dating more than one person. So it's a fantastic point that you brought up, and I think people need to start understanding. So when you start dating, and what I say is there are 3 steps to coming into a committed relationship. So whilst you're dating, wherever you've met and however you're met, it's absolutely up. You are dating more than one person, and that's your call, right? And you should let the other person know. When you decide that yes, this is one particular person I'd like to be exclusive with, then you become exclusive with that person. You have that conversation.
I don't think that's how it
But
normally
yeah,
works out.
I also
think
agree with
people-
that.
Because there's assumption. There's
No,
assumption
people
that
claim
no.
to be dating one person, but
Yeah.
they're actually dating 3 or 4.
They're keeping
And
options
come on,
open.
that's a reality. You know that.
no, but
That's
and
not
that's
in
how
doubt.
you're
Happened
supposed
even
to
in
be
the
honest
old
and
days.
talk about
But
it.
who
yeah,
is
yeah,
honest?
but that's also
Yeah.
again an old-fashioned concept because
Agreed.
Agreed.
But I wonder how law is going to keep up with so many variables, like 2-3 dating here and there. But so it's all.
Is the lawyer most viral.
I wonder how we keep up with that.
But when we went to the old matrimonial sites also, you would check out, maybe have 4 cups of tea in a day to check out 4 different guys.
But you wouldn't do it simultaneously. Would you do it simultaneously?
Yeah, because you're meeting, you
correct.
shortlisted 5 guys or 4 guys. You'll go
Yeah.
meet everyone during the week and then figure out, maybe have
when,
more
when,
than one
yeah,
meeting
when the
forward.
traditional thing also was
More
happening.
than one meeting
Correct.
on that.
Correct.
But a show is called What We Women Want. Leher, what women looking for, has that changed? We no longer want that tall, dark, handsome guy who earns a lot and gives us his credit card. We want to earn a lot. Maybe we want a husband who's supportive and maybe a homemaker. And
I know this is going to not. I'm all for the feminist movement and all, and this is not going to sound right. But I feel women also need to own up to their own idiosyncrasies. So typically, all the women I know, they will always choose a rich man over a poor man. I think that's just inherent. If the options are, if there are 2 guys in front of you, they're both equal, they will go for the richer vis-a-vis the relatively less rich, right? Then they also have to own up to their role in it. Your money can't be your money, and their money can't be your money.
Our money, yeah.
If you genuinely are looking for equality,
then
then you have to call out your own
I
crap,
get that. That's
you know?
actually a.
So I feel that women in their own way are also in a little bit of a time warp. They're very entitled in these matters.
So I'm going to maybe get Alka and Leher and Shalini back for that conversation. I think that's going to be a very interesting one also. But that's all for now. Hope we've given you some food for thought for the weekend and on relationships. But thank you for watching this show.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.